Out of all the entities of the Cthulhu mythos, I think the most important one to start with is Azathoth. After all, he is the head of the outer gods in the mythos, and not only thought of as their creator, but the creator of the universe and all planes of existence as well. And like most entities in the Mythos universe, Azathoth is known by many other names too, like the Primal Chaos, the Blind Idiot God, the Deep Dark, the Cold One, the Nuclear Chaos, and the Demon Sultan. He's also hands down the most powerful and feared outer god of all the Mythos. Nothing even comes close to Azathoth on a fundamental level. Though with everything Lovecraft, the canon is totally geared towards the reader's personal interpretation. So basically anyone's personal headcanon overrides everything I say concerning the head of the outer gods. Azathoth floats in space at the center of existence. But there are a lot of people who have come up with sometimes pretty bizarre theories, but sometimes pretty coherent ones too about where he's actually located. One such theory is that the being is actually at the center of our planet, though the majority would dictate Azathoth floats in the void. It's there that Azathoth sleeps, and it's only because Azathoth sleeps that humans exist in the first place. Lovecraft mentioned Azathoth in a lot of his tales, but never really gave a solid description of the outer god. It was only later that other authors and the fandom would give us a solid description of what the outer god might look like. He's described as an amorphous blob of tentacles, which is ever writhing and changing with no stable or consistent form and a gaping mouth of countless sharp teeth. His size is beyond human comprehension of what a living being might be capable of. Here's a description from H.P. Lovecraft himself from the unfinished story he wrote, entitled Azathoth. And I quote, "Outside the ordered universe is that amorphous blight of nethermost confusion, which blasphemes and bubbles at the center of all infinity. The demon sultan Azathoth, whose name no lips dare speak aloud, and who gnaws hungrily in inconceivable, unlighted chambers beyond time and space, amidst the muffled, maddening beating of vile drums and thin monotonous whine of accursed flutes." End quote. Lovecraft was very vague about the outer god's appearance, and for good reasons, I guess. Because in the mythos, every single person envisions Azathoth differently. He's the definition of chaos, and ever-changing and random. The outer god may exist outside our reality beyond space-time. However, there is evidence of his existence in our material universe. At the center of the Milky Way galaxy is a supermassive black hole called Sagittarius A, which, in the mythos, is a physical avatar of Azathoth. He's the center of infinite chaos, existing beyond all concepts, beyond the knowledge of all life forms, and even the other outer gods don't understand Azathoth, holding the blind idiot god in utter reverence and fear. Luckily, the nuclear chaos is in an eternal sleep, where the servitors of the outer gods constantly circle Azathoth. They're lesser deities, who are damned to play a maddening tune with drums and flutes in an eternal song to keep the great demon sultan from awakening. It's of the utmost importance that the song never ceases, because Azathoth must never be awoken, at all costs. Though, despite living in a seemingly infinite sleep, the outer god is omnipotent, omnipresent, possesses omniscience, and has omni-manifestation, meaning he can manifest looking like anything and everything, which I find interesting because he's described as the blind idiot god, which contradicts all these baffling abilities and powers. But I just think even the people and entities who describe Azathoth in-universe don't really get him or understand him, because trying to define the ineffable is hilarious, especially when he's described as being oblivious to the universe and all the beings within it. And it doesn't really make sense for something to be omnipotent and unconscious and unaware at the same time, unless the entity has a subconscious like humans do. Also, Azathoth commands his son, the outer god Nyarlathotep, to carry out his messages and will. And how can something oblivious to existence have a will or command other entities? Though there are some people who claim that Nyarlathotep is not just the son of Azathoth, but actually Azathoth's avatar. However, there's no reason to overanalyze it too much, because Lovecraft left so many things open without explanation for a reason, for us to create our own canon. And with such an open way to look at things, fans of the mythos have come up with countless theories. Like Azathoth is actually just a pawn, just a tool for a far more unknowable entity, used to manifest reality because of its primordial chaotic powers of creation. Another interesting theory is that Azathoth is the sole survivor of a cosmic war between entities just like himself, and that the conflict damaged Azathoth to the point the entity lost its intelligence, sanity, and reason. He got cosmic brain damage, basically. And in his slumber, Azathoth dreams everything into existence. Well, that last bit's a little bit more than a theory because it's pretty much accepted across the board that that's how the Mythos universe works. So pretty much everything in existence takes place within the mind of Azathoth, or at least is given form by it. It's said Azathoth doesn't know what he dreams about, from bacteria to light to human lives, all the way up to Cthulhu and the other outer gods themselves. In a sense, everything is Azathoth, which is why the outer god is so interesting and horrifying. In fact, Azathoth is basically the epitome of cosmic horror, with all life in the universe being a meaningless dream given form from an uncaring and unknowing god. Human lives being even less than insignificant. But still, that's just one way to look at it. Azathoth is unknowable and even beyond the comprehension of the other outer gods, the Great Old Ones, and pretty much all entities in the Mythos universe. So, like I said, trying to label and define the ineffable is hilarious. And since Lovecraft left so much open to interpretation, the only real canon concerning Azathoth is what you choose it to be. It really is one of the reasons why his writing is so brilliant, and I really wish more franchises and authors would do stuff like that too. Even though Azathoth is the ruler of the Outer Gods and the Great Old Ones, the nuclear chaos actually doesn't have many cultists on Earth. Well, when compared to other entities, that is. But those that do exist practice obscene rites on still living victims. His followers are pretty much insane and are incredibly dangerous to the inquiries of common people. There's really not enough to work with engaging exactly what cultists of Azathoth believe, or even their philosophy concerning him for that matter. It's most likely a pretty dark and nihilistic worldview, though. Supposedly, their intention is to summon Azathoth, or at least a fragment of him, which doesn't make too much sense unless their goal is the oblivion of the universe and all life in it. Well, knowing Cthulhu Mythos cults, that's probably their intention, though Azathoth has never shown any sign of even caring if he's being worshipped, much less show any favoritism to his cultists, and that's if he's even aware of their existence in the first place. Now that I think about it, Azathoth is omnipotent, so it's more likely the Demon Sultan is just indifferent. In the Mythos universe, there's this book called the Necronomicon, and Azathoth has a pretty big presence in it. The Necronomicon was written in the early 8th century by Abdul Ahazred, also known as the Mad Arab. He was indifferent to the popular religion of Islam and spent basically his entire life seeking out occult knowledge and the secrets of the universe. Anyone who comes across the Necronomicon, much less reads it, usually succumbs to a horrible fate. And even though he was the author of the Necronomicon, the Mad Arab was no different. While living in Damascus in his old age, the man was shredded to death in public by invisible attackers. So the Necronomicon is pretty messed up, and Azathoth has all of his business up in it. Two different protagonists from the mythos are completely unnerved when they read Azathoth's name in the Necronomicon. Like they just somehow know. But it's believed by many that Azathoth isn't even the entity's true name, and that his true name makes the Elder Gods, the Great Old Ones, and the Outer Gods all tremble with fear and respect. And this is for good reason, because it's really not a matter of if, but when Azathoth awakens, all existence will cease to be, becoming Azathoth once again, and Azathoth will again be alone. So let's just hope that the musicians that keep the entity lulled into slumber never fail to keep the song going, because rest assured, if it's ever interrupted, the day Azathoth wakes, we don't.